consciousness, thinking, breathing. What is the one thing that can identify us best? Most likely our breath. Although we are a consciousness that does not need a planet or oxygen to exist, at the moment the human mind has difficulty in grasping this concept, thus remaining an abstraction still too far, even if real. Western science, on the other hand, has only recently begun to explore this area of human evolution. Another concept closer to our understanding is thought. In fact, many recognize themselves in their thoughts. Thought, although abstract, can be observed, modified and created at will. The scientific literature is rich in study material on the electromagnetic nature of thought and its corresponding encephalographic areas. Thus, a first fundamental aspect in the understanding of human nature is outlined. That is the idea of flow. In fact, through the observation and study of thought, we understand its dynamic, and not static, peculiarity. Ergo, the individual can be best identified as a dynamic and changing flow. At this point, another aspect remains of human nature, and not only human, which can more easily be identified as a flow, breath. In fact, the breath is most likely the perfect representation of human nature. Invisible but sonorous, rarefied but tangible, unconscious and conscious, autonomous but modifiable. Its transversal nature allows it to cross and influence every human aspect from biochemical to electromagnetic nature, from thought to the deepest psyche, up to pushing us beyond the boundaries of time and space. As amply demonstrated by several Indian yogis, and only by recently also investigated by modern science. Although, for science it still remains a mystery to be solved. How can the flow of breath interact in such an effective and profound way, both in the material and quantum world? Discoveries on this subject are not lacking, and offer many practical advices for those more disciplined. The discovery of the quantum world is revolutionizing science, medicine, technology, with immense potential yet to be explored. The quantum world, in other words, is the study and observation of elements and forces that are smaller than the size of an atom, which was believed, not so long ago, to be the fundamental unit of matter, as it is no longer divisible into other particles even tinier and observable. At the moment, quantum science has discovered a series of subatomic particles and forces better known by the term quark, which are described in the so-called Standard Model. Only recently, in 2012, a new element was added to the Standard Model, namely the famous Higgs boson, also known as the God particle. In the quantum world, the concept of a particle, as it is commonly understood, loses its meaning, and it is better to speak of the interaction of wave frequencies that have quantities, hence the term quantum, of variable energy. In other words, they can go from one state to another, through nonlinear quantum leaps, disappearing and reappearing elsewhere. How the breath interacts with the quantum world is still not clear scientifically, but in the metaphysical literature, reference is made to particles and force fields, even smaller than those present in the Standard Model, which interact with quantum of energy so discrete but real, that it cannot be detected by the instrumentation currently in use. Until recently, humanity had managed to identify and describe the elements that make up common matter. through the well-known periodic table of the elements. Now instead, we are witnessing the birth of a new tablature, the table of the Standard Model, that collects and describes the subatomic particles of the quantum world, with which it is even possible to create all the elements present in the periodic table. In fact, contemporary science has the potential, with the right technology, to create any form of matter, almost only from the air, literally. For example, food can be created in any form and state, such as a smoking pizza just out of the oven. All this thanks only to a handful of quantum particles that can be literally counted on one hand fingers, and a certain amount of energy to be applied. Here is created the visible from the invisible.